I would like to call to order the Monroe County Board of Elections meeting for August 6th. And we have a good turnout today. I'm really happy to see that. I would first like to ask Sherry Morris, have there been any corrections or additions to the minutes that you sent out?
Frankly, I'm aware of none. There are 3 draft meeting minutes, the most recent one being the July 2nd meeting. There was June 12th when we had the provisional ballot review, and then there were 8 kind of mini meetings that started on April 20th, and we kept recessing because there were so many decisions being made due to the pandemic and changes. And I do not believe I have received any changes via email for any of those 3 sets of draft minutes.
Right. Online, we have the 3 members of the board, myself, Hal Turner, Carolyn Vandewiel, and Nicole Brown. So could I ask for a vote of the board present that if there are no additions or corrections to the minutes, that we vote to accept those minutes? All those in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Did you get a motion?
Yes.
Did you get a motion first?
I'm making a motion. Okay.
Did you get a second?
Second to the motion?
I will.
Okay. All those in, can't really hear you, Carolyn, but wave.
I don't even see Carolyn.
Yeah, I see her. She's there. Could I have a wave of hand of all those? Yep. Who approve? Okay. Thumbs
Aye.
up. Thumbs up.
Nicole
Yes.
Brown. Yes.
Al Turner. Aye. And Carolyn Vandewie, could you give us a thumbs up? No.
No.
No. She's voting down the approval of the minutes.
Okay.
Okay. This really requires an explanation, but
yeah, if Carolyn could send an email, because Carolyn, I don't think I've received anything from you with feedback, but of course, I could have missed it. Maybe copying everyone so the board members know.
Okay.
Did she drop off?
We have a lot of people on today, so.
I see something like she's trying to connect.
Yeah, I do see she's showing up muted, and I don't see her anymore.
I don't know.
Okay.
Carolyn.
Carolyn, do you want to call in on your cell phone for audio? Okay. We don't do this for everyone, but Carolyn is one of the 3 members of the board, and she must be present. I seem to remember not too long ago the chair had a problem with audio as well.
Well, while we're waiting for Carolyn to connect back, it looks like there's quite a few people on, and we want to thank them for joining. It's got to be crazy to find time in these unusual circumstances. There's a phone number. Is that Carolyn's phone?
We can see you, Carolyn.
Chat, I can't do anything.
Okay, we got you.
I hear you.
I hear you.
Problem.
Yeah, I can hear you. I think you're okay, Carolyn.
She can't hear us.
Yeah, apparently. Okay, one moment while Carolyn dials in.
You know, typically I am the technologically challenged, so I am just appreciating that this is not me.
Or nor me. But the fickle finger touches us all sooner or later.
Agreed.
Okay. For people who just jumped on, we're waiting for one of the three members of the board to make an audio connection. Okay, Carolyn, can you hear me? Okay, she's dropped off again.
I'm going to look up and see if that's her phone number that pops up.
Yeah, there were two numbers. I unmuted both of them, but they didn't respond.
It wasn't the one that I have for Carolyn, but.
Okay.
So, that one wasn't the one I have for Carolyn either.
So I think we've all been officially Zoomed at one point or another.
Absolutely.
Apologies to our friends from the media and the press for keeping you waiting.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I don't know why. This is the only meeting I ever have problems with.
Okay. Yeah. We've all been bitten sooner or later. Are you good now, Carolyn?
Well, you just muted me again.
Okay. Do you want to be on? Okay. I was getting a bad echo from you.
Well, I will turn myself off unless I need to speak, but that's all I can do. My computer audio is turned off.
Okay. We definitely have an echo from you.
Is that better now?
No.
No.
Still echoing.
Just leave me muted until I have to speak.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Anyway, in regards to the minutes, on page 19 of the June 4th, I think it was, I was actually discussing Edgewood as the curb problem and not Grandview. Other than that, I had no problems.
Okay.
All right,
So
I couldn't hear that.
it's there was a curb problem mentioned on page 19.
I'm looking at page 19, yes.
Okay. And that was Edgewood, not Grandview. The curb problem was with Edgewood, not Grandview.
I don't remember it that way. Okay.
I did
I did
mention at
mention at
some point
some
that
point that there was a problem with Grandview. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
That's better?
I can
Little
hear you.
bit.
Yeah, I can hear
Anyway,
you fine.
we discussed both, but the problem was with Edgewood and people falling there.
Okay.
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 Anyway,
So then can we have a motion to approve as amended?
I will make the motion to approve as amended.
I will second it. All those in favor? Hal says yes,
Nicole says yes.
and Carolyn says thumbs up. Okay, terrific. So those minutes will be put online and made available to the public at this point now that they're approved. Under old business, I'd like to call on Karen Wheeler to give us an update on the unsettled delinquent filings review.
Unmute, mute, unmute. Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you.
You can hear me, great. Okay, so we've had 3 from the January, the annual.
Bad echo, bad echo. Okay, go ahead.
We have 3 from the annual CFA 4, which would have been January. They still have not paid. And that was Carl Bowen. Although there's notes in this one when I was gone that says it was sent in. And Carolyn recommended to file disband paperwork and close out account. But I don't have that paperwork. And maybe somebody else has it. And the other one is Dominic Thompson and Zachary, I don't know how to say his last name. Weisheit.
Okay,
And then I have 3 from the last in May, the pre-election. I have Joseph Blevins, Ryan Maloney, and Denise Valkyrie.
all right. Mr.
Karen?
Blevin, yes.
Denise Valkyrie, you should have gotten her paperwork last night or this morning. She sent me a copy of it, so that one should be there. I've had no luck reaching anybody else. I've left messages. Nobody's responded.
She was not in my email, but maybe she sent it to the election. I never use that email, but I don't have it, but maybe since you have one, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and it's basically a zeroed out and a final dispense. But she did get it in yesterday, but I've not been able to reach any of the other people that I've tried to reach. Nobody's responded to my messages or emails.
Okay, so if you want to forward that to me, just to make sure that I have it, that would be great.
I'll do that.
Very good. Is there any more business related to unsettled delinquent filings?
Well,
Yes, Sherry.
in the last meeting, you had said that Joseph Blevins, you assessed a $50 fine contingent on the fact that he would follow up with the second fee that was due for his not getting it corrected by August 6th. So I don't know how you want to handle that.
Well, if he'll be assessed that fine, and it's up to, if it's not resolved yet, and Karen indicates it's not, then the board needs to determine if there should be any additional fine levied. The 50 was conditional.
Nicole.
Yes.
I would like to make a recommendation for the additional fine. One of the things that we talked about in a previous meeting was taking this seriously. If you're going to run for public office, you have to comply with the campaign financial agreements, and particularly in case someone would want to file in the future, this is a great indication of what you do with the people's trust if you cannot, if you cannot come into compliance with respect to the rules like every other candidate is asked to do. So I will make the motion for the additional fee.
Okay, how much would that additional fee be that you're proposing? Are you proposing that we double it?
Yes.
Okay.
So a total of 100, is that what I'm hearing? 'Cause
Yes.
it's $50 before.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll raise that to 100.
Okay.
All right.
I would concur.
Okay, so we have a motion. I move that we double Mr. Blevins' fine from $50 to $100. Could I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Hal Turner says yes.
Nicole Brown
Carolyn
says
says-
yes.
And Carolyn says yes.
Okay, so the fine is levied for $100.
I think at this point, Hal, we probably need to send them the registered letters to the addresses that we have because, as
Well,
I
he
said,
was
I've
on-
left messages on
Yeah.
their phones and they
Yeah.
have not responded.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
very good.
And
Registered letter.
Ryan Maloney had $100 fine, and then he had not resolved the incomplete filing as of the July 2nd meeting.
Okay,
I think we assessed him $100 fine for the delinquency because he knew it was delinquent, had not fixed it, had been over 10 days. And that's the maximum fine for deficient returns. But again, I left him a couple of messages to call me back. He's not called me back. So I think at this point we should send them a registered or certified letter to that effect because apparently they're not responding.
okay.
So $100 fine for missing the initial deadline for filing, and then nothing additional for missing the deadline to resolve the incomplete filing. Just
I
ask.
think it was his first offense, was not?
It was his second offense.
Second offense.
Yes.
Mm.
It was.
Okay, I remember we had fined him $100, but I thought it was because it was deficient, not because it was delinquent. Because the second offense, we would have waived the issue. But the question is, do we want to add on to that because they've just not taken care of their duties to get this paperwork filed? I wouldn't be adverse to adding another $100 on there.
I'm not
for
adverse.
the same reason.
Yeah,
I agree.
I concur. Okay, so we have a motion to double the fee to $200.
Okay,
Could I have a second to the motion?
can I
Yes.
just say something before you vote? In the minutes,
Yeah.
This is written by Nicole, it says $100 penalty for delinquency, certified letter to go out, I will work to confirm address for election central. This
Yeah,
was-
Hal, I think the maximum that we can charge him on the deficiency is 100, so we need to add $100 for being late and $100 for the deficiency that he's not corrected.
So
Which would be a
noted.
total of 200.
So noted.
To-
So 2 offenses, $100 each.
yes.
All right. Yep.
I think that's the way we have to do it.
Okay. And we'll make sure that it's registered or certified. All right. So could we have a motion? Actually, I'll move that we do that. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor? Hal says yes.
Nicole says yes.
Carolyn says yes.
Okay. So it is done.
And Denise, her filing was due When? In May, so.
She had,
First
yeah,
offense.
she had fallen through the cracks and not been contacted. So we had decided to let it slide, provided she got it in before this meeting. And as I said, she sent it to me, and I know she said she sent it to, I think she sent it to Tina.
Yeah, I think she was supposed to file it on July 1st. That's what we said at the last meeting, but nothing was received. So now it's August 6th.
Yeah, but she had not been contacted. She kind of fell through the cracks on the contact issue.
Yeah, but
So
well,
we had
okay, that's
decided
fine. But you had
we
said
would,
in the last meeting she was supposed to file on July 1st, and
Okay.
we hadn't received it. So I don't know.
she had told me that she would get it in by then, but we had not,
Yeah.
followed up. So the idea was that we would let it slide as long as it was in before this meeting. And as I said, she sent it to Tina yesterday. I still don't know why she didn't get it in faster than that, but that's where we are. So I think
Okay.
we can leave her out, and I doubt that she's going to run for office again, but we'll see.
Okay.
I did warn her that should she do so, that she really needed to get her paperwork in properly.
So your proposal is that as long as the check is in the mail or the paperwork is in the mail, that the spirit of our request has been met rather than the actual line of the, so that
Correct.
okay. All right.
Given that we
Yeah.
waived the file on first offenses in
Yep.
general, and because
Yep.
she was contacted so late, and she's had a bunch of health issues and
Yeah.
and various family members, and as well as herself, that we
Yep.
go ahead and waive the fine at this point. But should she ever run for office and be late again, she's going to have to deal with it
Okay.
on time.
Okay. On the assumption that that paperwork will be resolved within the next few days, that'll be received and recognized as being received. Are you making a motion?
I'll make that motion. As I said, I have a copy of it.
Yeah.
Tina
Okay.
should also have a copy of it at the Election
Okay.
Central office. So it should be in.
right.
And I'll forward this to Karen just to make sure that it got there.
Okay. Could we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, Hal votes yes.
Nicole votes yes.
And I vote yes, Carolyn.
All right. Thank you.
If she did send it to Tina, which is likely, Tina has not been in the office and her email says that she is out of the office. Just saying.
No, she may not have seen that when I talked to her because she had just sent it. So anyway, as I said, I will forward it to you, Karen, so that I have the CF4 right here. And I'll just forward it to you so that we know we've got it.
Yeah, we may have to have a more aggressive training of candidates this fall so that they understand these deadlines are deadlines and they're state law. It's not something that, we can't keep accepting excuses that the dog ate my homework. They have requirements to get these in on time. So I think we've done the right thing by the candidates today. And I want to thank the rest of the board. Is there any other unsettled delinquent filing business to be handled today? Is your hand up, Sherry? Or
Well, Dominic Thompson and Zachary Weisheidt, or however, I mean,
yes.
just carries on to the next meeting, I guess, or something. I don't know.
They've both been impossible to contact, I understand.
We should assess them.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I think barring a successful contact, there's not anything we can do except carry it forward to the next meeting.
So
and
no letter
continue.
to them or anything, or no assessment of fines or anything. It's just.
I'm kidding. I tried very hard.
It's fine. That's fine.
Yes.
Comment.
And hey, why
Okay.
Why
Hi,
can't,
Tree.
hi, hey dear. I don't understand why we can't find this one person. He works basically within 100 feet of us,
Really?
really. So let me have some success in my life. I'll find him
Okay.
and I'll let you know next meeting.
All right. And
Thanks.
let him know he's going to be assessed a fine by the next meeting if he doesn't respond.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Is there any other delinquent filing business to be handled today?
We can find him too.
We think we can find the other guy. He works for the police department.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Okay. I know somebody on the police department.
You
All right.
know.
We'll get him.
So you're talking about Dominic and Zachary, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're the last two they were late from the pre-primary filing.
Right.
The other three are from the general.
Okay.
Helen, you were supposed to call these two people.
I tried.
What number did you call?
The numbers that were on the paperwork.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I left messages for everybody. Nobody called me back. I can try again, but
Yep.
you know.
All right. So they get a little longer reprieve before they get a fine.
But let's
Unless
if they
the-
do not respond by the next meeting in September, I
they
think
will be
we
assessed a fine.
Are
we
they
let them know that.
offenses?
Yep.
Are they first offenses?
Yes, they're both first
They're
offenses.
both first offenses. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
So normally they would not be fined, but since they've not responded to requests to do their paperwork, then, if they're going to ignore us, then we're going to have to be forced to take action.
Okay.
Okay. Is the board ready to move on to the next issue?
Yes, sure.
Okay. We will get on to the second section of old business relating to polling sites for the 2020 fall election. The first one is an issue that's been brought up several times by the administration of the Richmond Bean Blossom School System and the principal of Edgewood High School. And that relates to using the school as a voting site. They have in the past brought up the issue of safety for the children because of the interaction of school buses and parents driving in to pick up kids and kids wandering around and 1,500 voters sharing the same parking area space and same doors. So we have.
And the same issues, of course, apply to the voters who are trying to dodge school buses and parents dropping off their kids. So
absolutely, all those groups interact on a voting day, on a very hectic voting day. Now we have the additional issue of COVID and the special COVID procedures that some schools are taking. So I wanted to know from the school if they were taking any special COVID procedures since they're in session on election day. And so I sent a note to Dirk Ackerman, who is the principal, and I asked him the following question. Will the gym where we normally vote be reserved for or used for any COVID-related auxiliary social distancing classroom space or any other COVID-related purpose on election day this year that would prevent its use as an election poll location? His response to me was, yes, Edgewood High School's auxiliary gym will be used as an additional space due to the COVID-19 virus. We're currently in need of additional spaces, especially large spaces, to have proper physical distancing of large classes, such as physical education classes, band classes, and choir classes. Additionally, we are currently still determining if our students will have lunch in the classrooms or in the cafeteria and auxiliary gym. Students are going to be more restricted throughout the day. So we are doing everything we can to give them an opportunity to have the ability to have a period of the day that students can socialize with their friends outside of the scheduled classes. I appreciate the election board's consideration of the safety and mental health needs of the Edgewood High School students. That was received yesterday. So now I would open this up to any discussion from the election board. If you have any comments or concerns that you'd like to express.
I do.
Yes, Nicole.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Ackerman, for your correspondence. I can't tell if he's on the meeting or not.
He is not.
Okay. I want to just give us a level set right now, and then I have a thought that I'm opening up for discussion. As of last week, you can imagine all 92 clerks are emailing back and forth, and my inbox looks ridiculous right now. But
Sure.
At least as of last week, all clerks have been given the guidance to prepare for a regular election with 28 days of early voting. And I saw something from the governor that did not lead me to believe that they are in favor of the no excuse absentee voting by mail, something that came across on the news.
His speech yesterday said that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So I didn't hear the speech. Someone just sent me a piece of news from WTHR, and I got to read that. So I took the liberty of polling my 91 other counterparts to see what they were doing compared to the primary. Most of the Indiana clerks are using all of their polling sites. I would say that that is in line with the CDC's recommendation that on election day, you have more polling sites rather than less. And there are even some clerks who are doing extra polling sites. I got a very nice graphic of the square footage for some of the places that you all have traveled to on behalf of the Monroe County voters. And one of the things that I note is that Edgewood High School has 6,240 feet, 6,240 square feet. Is that not right? I see a hand there from Ms. Sherry.
I have no idea.
It's the size of a basketball court.
Yeah,
Right.
I thought Harold noted said 47.5, but that's, whatever. It's
Okay.
still pretty sizable.
You're correct.
So comparable to one of our bigger churches. Would you agree with that? So this is what I'm going to suggest. Don't anybody blow up my car. I'd like to see us keep both polling sites, approve both polling sites, and this is what my thought is. I don't know, nobody seems to know what's going to go on with school in conjunction with COVID. I would agree with Mr. Ackerman that we do not want to put any student in danger with respect to COVID. But if for some reason in November there is no school, and we don't know what that's going to look like yet, then, and we didn't have to worry about buses, and we didn't have to worry about anything other than voters, if we could keep that 6,240 square feet in addition to the proposal for the town hall, and if I understood some correspondence, that has significantly less square footage than Edgewood, then we have options to spread our voters out for the social distancing, and there's less congestion and bigger sites. So I don't know if I said that as articulately as I would have liked, but I'm hopeful that it makes sense.
Okay, so just to reflect what I heard, you're saying that if school is not in session at Edgewood, then we would have voting at Edgewood on election day. If school is in session and the children are present in a COVID environment where they're using that gym for auxiliary space to provide social distancing, then we would use the town hall.
That is what I'm saying, yes, that's what I'm saying. I have seen the correspondence with respect to a couple of polling sites in the surrounding area. So in my thinking, if we approve both of them, if the kids are not in school, and by all means, any seniors out there at Edgewood High School, if you weren't in school, I'd hope you'd want to work for us on election day. If they are not in school and we don't have to worry about buses, which sounded to me like that was the prevailing concern about using the school, then we have that on the table and we don't have to scramble. We have a site. 6,240 square feet is a lot. As I look at this, this is bigger than Emmanuel Baptist Church, St. John's Church, Southside Christian. So it's comparable to our bigger churches and would allow us what the CDC is saying with respect to larger spaces, less congestion, more room for the voters to not be up against one another.
Okay.
So that's what I wanted to throw out for discussion.
Great. Is there any discussion
can
on
we
that?
do that? Can we legally do that?
Can we approve the site?
Well, can we report to the state that we'll use both sites without intending to use both sites?
So I guess I don't see it as any different as if there's school in November and it's not an option because of COVID. I don't see it as being any different than we can no longer use one of our nursing homes and we're going to have to move those voters. And we won't have to scramble because we already know which place we're going to move them to.
Okay. What I heard Carolyn say is that since we have to report to the state early in September what our voting sites will be, we have to make the decision of which one we're going to use by early September. That we can still go and prepare and do the accessibility study and everything else on both sites, but that we have to make the decision in time to report it to the state 60 days prior to the election.
So it's like September 7th, I think, or something like that.
September 7th, whatever 60 days is. Yeah, is that what you intended, Carolyn?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I probably defer to asking Tree for her perspective on this, only because I know we had polling sites, a polling site that pulled out of an election less than 60 days prior to the election because it was a daycare, if I'm not mistaken, and we ended up having to move that to a church.
Okay, I'm not
familiar
with that.
I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but the question is if we notify voters that they're going to be voting somewhere, I think that we have to, it's a different situation if we say that we're having both sites open versus we had to scramble because something closed. So I think we need to make sure that what we're doing is legal before we make that decision, but we don't, I think, officially have to make that decision until, until the September meeting.
Yeah.
That is correct. That is correct. And we also would like to have all of the results in from your compliances.
Oh, they will be.
Before that we make some hard, fast decisions.
Yep. We're going to get a report on that next after we resolve this. Chris Jackson, who represents the CCA, will give us his timeline for that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Carolyn, do you have a motion then?
So, I mean, we can make the motion that we approve, or that we, let's see, what do we want to do? That we explore the option of using both sites in Ellettsville with a final decision to be made prior to the deadline in September. How about that?
That sounds great. I'll second that motion. Could we have a vote? All those in favor signify by vocalizing. Hal says yes.
Nicole says yes.
And Carolyn says yes.
Great. That's a great, an elegant solution. And thank you so much, Nicole, for your deep thought on this in helping us resolve a very difficult situation. And Carolyn, thank you for your insights on the legal side of this. You nail it every time.
Just to be, I just checked your notes. It's 4,700 square feet, which I still think that the town hall's probably about half of that.
Yeah.
Although it does have good traffic flow, but that's another situation.
Yeah. I paced off the town hall yesterday. I didn't have a long enough tape measure with me, but it did appear to be roughly the size of the available space in Election Central if we remove the offices. So it's quite considerable. We could get 12 tables in there.
Yeah, and it does have a it has a door in and a door out, so that there would be good traffic flow.
Yep.
So they're not coming out the same door, which of course is the one issue at Edgewood, is that people go in and out the same area.
Yep.
They might still be passing each other on the way to the parking lot, though. But it's not a bad space. It's just not as big.
Yeah, it's not quite as big.
Sent them in and out different doors at Edgewood.
Right. We changed that in the primary to have a separate exit at Edgewood.
Yeah, they still have to, go down the sidewalk to the parking lot, though, and I think that would be a little bit of an issue also at the town hall. So there would be some place where people would have to cross. But it's pretty hard not to have that when you're heading back to the same location you came from.
Right.
Okay. Shall we move on then? Any other discussion on this since we've already passed the motion? Okay.
I think we're good until September.
Till September 6th.
The results of the HAVA compliance issues. The one thing I guess I would say is that we normally have hired a resource officer at Edgewood.
Yeah.
And I know there is some concern, at least at high traffic times, about at least making a left turn out of the town hall. So we might be able to devote those fees that we use for the resource officer for not using Edgewood to get a deputy sheriff traffic director for at least the high drive times. So that might be an option there too.
So maybe 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the evening.
Or even less.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Really, the police will have a good idea how much time we need.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
I'm sure they've done some traffic studies in that location.
Yep.
I have to tell you, I still feel very strongly about that left turn with respect to our older voters, and so
like me.
No, I'm.
Yeah. I would make the notion though that it's probably no worse than turning left out of Arlington onto 45. They're both state highways, and they both have fairly hefty traffic in the morning and in the evening when people are going and coming from work.
And there is a cross-hatched area in the center marked off, which could be used as a halfway stop when people need to pull out.
Yeah. So I do think we can solve that situation without, that shouldn't be the major sticking point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. All right. So a couple of work items on that. Are we ready to move on to the review of potential voting sites for accessibility? All right. As I announced in previous meetings, the board has intended to check sites to make sure that they are accessible for anyone who needs accessible facilities and access. So I would like to call on Chris Jackson now. Chris is with the City Committee on Accessibility, and we reached out to Stonebelt to provide some client real-life experiences, and Stonebelt suggested that we also involve the CCA in that process, since they're experienced in dealing within the city of all kinds of accessibility issues. So I would like to turn the microphone over to Chris Jackson to give us a review of their process and progress.
Sure, happy to do that and appreciate the invitation. So again, my name is Chris Jackson. I'm the chair of the Accessibility Committee for the CCA, which is the Bloomington Council for Community Accessibility. We have several different subcommittees, but the Accessibility Committee administers an Access Ability Decal program. What we are is a team of volunteers that goes out and measures businesses, retail establishments, in some cases, government offices, and nonprofit agencies, and recently schools, to identify barriers to accessibility. So we're very much using the 2010 Department of Justice ADA guidelines, but we are a volunteer organization. And so what we've done is taken the elements of the ADA guidelines that our members have felt are the types of barriers that they most frequently encounter, and distilled that into a shorter survey that allows us as volunteers to do an assessment. So as I said, normally we do retail establishments, but we've always been open to requests from organizations to help them with their accessibility. So the request that came in through Stone Belt and through the Monroe County Election Board really just came to us a couple of weeks ago. And this isn't something that we've been involved with for previous elections, so we definitely had some homework to do, but making sure that voting is accessible to all is, of course, a super high priority. It's what makes a democracy function, so we're doing what we can to apply our survey tools to the list of sites. 34 sites now, so the list of sites is constantly changing, but we have actually started to go out to those sites. I believe as of today, we've done 11 of those sites with preliminary surveys. Part of our work then involves follow-up discussion on the surveys from the committee members, because sometimes there's some gray areas that we want to discuss first. So we haven't had any of those discussions, but when we're done with all the sites, and we're feeling we can get done by the end of August, we will submit a report to the election board that identifies the barriers we've discovered at each site. And we're trying to document them not just in our report, but with photographs. And so far, a member of this election board has been able to attend all of the surveys to see the kinds of things we're finding firsthand.
All right. We have a hand up from the audience. A question, Randy. Randy Paul, would you like to unmute and state your question, please?
Sure. It's more of an observation than a question. I mean, this is what we've been dealing with the county. CCA has come out and said, you know, we'll help you, but we don't do ADA compliance, but we'll identify the more serious issues. Now they're saying the same thing about the voting sites. And all I can say is if you shorten the survey, if you shorten the requirements because it's more convenient or because you have volunteers, you shorten the rights of people with disabilities to vote. And I would like to know, of the people who have disabilities and the shortened survey you're using, who are you willing to be left out? And what concerns me is I've been a member of the CCA for years. I've gone through their decal program and their training. It's not even close to ADA compliance, which under the Help America Vote Act, you have to comply with the ADA. It doesn't matter how many, you know, innovative ways you try to get around this. In the end, you're going to have to comply with the ADA. When I've talked with members of CCA, they don't know the difference between the ADA and the Help America Vote Act. Do they differ? Do they conflict? If they do conflict, what do you do about it? There's a rule called the Safe Harbor Law. What is it? When does it apply? When do you have to have it on current buildings or older buildings? The lack of training in this area is astounding. And until you recognize the fact that you have to have trained people out there doing the full surveys, and you're hurting yourselves also, because a large part of this is how to make something usable on election day. We showed you, Tree and I showed you in the primary, you could do that without costing any money. And now you're going right back to where you were, where you're not complying with the ADA nor the Help America Vote Act. I don't get it. You know, my role has changed. I'm not here now to make suggestions to you or to help you, because now I'm filing the complaint with the Department of Justice. It's going to take a few weeks. It's going to go back 15 years worth of this, including the conversation today. You know, my role now is more of a watchdog than it is somebody who's trying to help you. For 15 years, I tried to help you comply voluntarily, and you wouldn't do it. So now we have to look at forced compliance. My role is much more of a watchdog. I'm going to send my own team out that's trained, and I'm going to review the work or recommendations that you have done. And if you're putting sites out there that aren't HAVA compliant, then I'll go public with it. I'll go on social media, not to call you guys wrong, but to try to help people who've got disabilities have accessibility. So if you're going to put a site up like Edgewood, which we talked about, I'm going to go public with it. And hopefully people will hear it and they won't go to Edgewood. But it's insane, I think, for a private citizen to have to do this. Why in the world will the county and the city not comply with the ADA? And I have yet to get an answer to that, except all I get now are the games you guys are playing in terms of, oh, let's check off this form, but it's not going to mean anything. You're not helping anyone with disabilities. And that really ought to send a guilt conflict to this entire court. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment, Randy. Chris, you reported on our project and process so far. What is your target for completion? You said by the September meeting or by the end of August?
The end of August is the goal that we feel we can meet. I understand that the election board needs to submit a report to the state in early September, so we're hoping we can wrap up by the end of August.
Okay, that's terrific. Can you report on the document that we're using for the checklist?
Yeah, so, and this is partly in response to Randy's question. So the Department of Justice, or his comments, the Department of Justice did in 2016 publish a guidelines for accessible polling places, and that's very much informed the survey that we use. So we're trying to take everything into account in that document. We're not doing a full ADA survey in that, fortunately, there are some things we can leave off. I haven't been to all the polling sites yet, but my understanding is that none of them require use of an elevator or an extended ramp. That may not be the case, but that's my understanding. If that is the case, then we don't need to look at accessibility of elevators. Often these buildings will have elevators, but if it's not used to get from parking to the voting location or not needed for accessible restrooms, then we can omit some parts of the survey. So we are informed by the Help America Vote Act documents, several documents that the Monroe County Election Board has used in the past, the Department of Justice 2016 guidelines on accessible polling places, and beyond that, the 2010 full ADA guidelines, which we often refer to when we have an area where we feel we need further clarification. I do want to make clear, we're not a regulatory authority. This is federal law, the ADA, and we are a group of Bloomington volunteers, so we're not able to enforce compliance with any of the places that we survey. That's not really our role. That is an important part of making places accessible. And as Randy mentions, there are other mechanisms, but we're not an enforcement, and we don't have the authority to do that. What we are trying to do is make everything in Bloomington as accessible as possible in terms of public spaces. This was a real extension for us to go outside city limits into the county. But if we can make voting more accessible to more people, I think it's a worthwhile use of our time, which is why I'm volunteering my time for the program. It doesn't stand in for a certified ADA compliance, but again, we're not a group that can do that.
Right. Okay. I have a hand up from Randy.
You know, those very words are the crux of my argument. The Help America Vote Act doesn't have in it anywhere that says counties are free to pick and choose what they want to do. They're not able to pick and choose, saying we'll just take care of the major problems, not the minor problems, because the minor problems oftentimes keep people from having accessibility. The most common problem in a site, whether it be voting or just business or in government, is at the doorway, the bottom of the door, where there's like an inch or an inch and a half strip that you have to go over to get into the building, I have been denied access to buildings because of that one little strip of bar or aluminum. That most people would not consider major. Most people don't know it about it at all, but that would keep me from voting. Those are the issues that I'm so concerned about, because the training that's been done doesn't even come close to identifying what people need, close in terms of what the most likely obstacles are going to be, close on more of the technical stuff. For example, under Help America Vote Act, if you've got what they suspect a long line on election day, what if you've got an hour and a half line and you have a disabled voter in that line? What can or can you not do for that person? No one can answer that question.
You can bring that person to the front of the line. That's in the ADA checklist for polling places.
No, it's not.
You've read the 2016 and 2018.
I have worked on this for
regulations?
15 years. I've run teams. I've trained teams. I know the difference between the ADA and HAVA. And when I ask people that question, they don't know that. They don't know the technical side of what can you do to assist somebody. And the fact that you're taking a checklist and picking and choosing on it and now saying, holding your hands up saying, well, we've done our job. You haven't done your job. And the damage isn't because you haven't done your job. The damage is you're letting voters think you've done your job. And people with disabilities will go out there. And like me one year, when they didn't take care of that strip at the bottom of the door, I wasn't able to get in the building. And until you get people involved that really know what they're doing, you're going to fail miserably. And like I said,
Chris, what do we do on a door entry? Do we do any measurements?
Yeah, that is something we measure and document anytime there's a problem. So the height is a ½ inch maximum for wheelchair accessibility. It can go up to 3/4 of an inch if there's a beveled edge on that lip. Absolutely, that's a while it may seem like a minor issue for people who don't use wheelchairs or rollators, we know that that is not a minor issue at all. So that's the sort of thing that we absolutely document and identify as a barrier. So I'm not saying there's never something that we don't miss. We're not infallible, but we're looking for those exact sort of things and really everything that's spelled out in the 2016 Accessible Polling Places document from the Department of Justice. So yeah, I agree, Randy, those little things are significant and people need to know to look for them. And our training and our surveys have been developed by people who are wheelchair users and rollator users and people who are blind. So getting that input has been crucial to know really what barriers do prevent people from gaining access to places they have every right to have full access to.
And again, my concern is what you said, not what I'm saying. I use that as an example. You were the one that said that you're modifying that checklist.
We're using everything substantively in the 2016 checklist. The modifications weren't with what gets measured, but rather how our surveyors use it. So we ask our surveyors to take a measurement and input it into our form, and then our form compares that to the ADA standard so that the surveyors don't need to recall or look up the standard in each case. They need to take the measurement on just how high that door threshold is, for example, and whether or not it's beveled. And then our survey determines whether that's a pass or fail in terms of meeting the guidelines. That's the kind of modification that we've done just to facilitate surveys by people who are doing it on a volunteer basis who aren't professional surveyors.
So what do you do? What do you do if the ADA and HAVA conflict?
So HAVA, I've only looked at that briefly, and we're looking at the physical accessibility of the polling places. Things like accommodations for long lines aren't something the CCA is able to be involved in. We're looking at the locations as they are this week and next week. There may be ways the polling machines are set up or the ways people with disability are addressed during the polling day in November, and we're not able to address those. We're just looking at the measurements and whether or not they comply with the guidelines as we're able to measure them today.
And again,
so parking, path of travel, door thresholds, restrooms, 36-inch clearance, door clearance, that sort of thing, those objective measurements.
And again, if the ADA and the HAVA conflict, what do you do?
Chris, is your document publicly available that you use for measurements?
Yeah, I've got it as a PDF that I'm certainly able to share. I'm not sure that it's online anywhere where it can currently be accessed, but I can forward it to anybody who wants it. If I get it to the election board, if I get it to you, how are you able to distribute it?
We'll post it.
Well, how does that answer my question? If HAVA and the ADA conflict, what do you do? What's the safe harbor law?
Yeah, this is not a quiz, Randy. We're not going to go through a quiz here.
You're not
going to do a quiz here. What we are doing is telling you what we're doing to comply with the ADA checklist for polling places as it's applied by the CCA.
And you guys don't have the training to do that. Now, apparently that's okay with you.
Well, are there any other comments? Being no comments, then we will proceed. Yeah, there it is. Okay, Chris, thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate very much you going over that process with us. The document that we are using is 6 pages derived from the ADA checklist for polling places and the information that's required in order to have a successful polling place. If there are any other questions, use your hand icon right now, or we will move on with the next agenda item. Okay. Nicole, if you're, could you give us an update? You briefly touched on it earlier, but could you give us an update on the state decisions and other issues that are affecting the 2020 election?
So as I indicated, and I was on email this morning for a significant amount of time with the other clerks, they were talking about drop boxes, and the statute does not allow for drop boxes with respect to ballots that have been mailed in Indiana. So again, what I noted from the president of the Clerks Association and from the people who are on the phone, I'm not on the phone when they talk to the Secretary of State, but I do serve on the legislative committee with people who are on that call, the officers who are on that call. So as of today, the Secretary of State and the Indiana Election Division are directing us to prepare for a full-out election, full-out presidential election with 28 days of early voting, and they are following the CDC guidelines as far as more space, allowing people to distance, and the governor is encouraging anybody concerned about a line on election day to vote early. So those are the things that I have now, subject to change, and I will certainly keep you posted as soon as I know anything different. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there any other business that needs to be brought before the election board at this time? Then I will open it up to general questions that anyone in the audience might have. Randy Paul has his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I had heard a little bit of your conversation before the meeting started about when you're going to be back in physical meeting rooms with people. And I just wanted to urge and remind the board that just because you're back where you normally are in the courthouse, and just because you have visitors attending physically, that doesn't stop you from continuing Zoom. And again, you know, it's going to benefit those people with disabilities. If you look at the attendance you've had in election board meetings, it's been substantially greater since Zoom has been implemented. A lot of places in the county are continuing Zoom even after business as usual. So I would hope that the election board would do the same. Thanks.
Thank you for your input. We have a hand up from Nathan Muchler.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear you fine?
Thank you. This was a very informative meeting. It's the first time I've attended a meeting of this board, and I am, for better or for worse, pleased that the current circumstances, political and community health-wise, have gotten a lot of people more engaged with the community. Both politically and for community health, this is probably going to be the most challenging election of my lifetime and possibly all of ours. So I would just encourage this board to think creatively and with passion about using all your authority to make sure it's a just, equitable, and safe election for all. Because as much as I think we might all wish it will be, I fear this will not be a business as usual election cycle. So thank you, and I look forward to continuing to learn about the process and being engaged in our community.
Nathan, this is Nicole Brown, and thank you for those comments. I don't know if that feedback is for me. Sorry about that. Nathan, thank you for your comments. And I want to assure you, as we go forward and prepare for this general election, I am the first to say I work with the most amazing team ever, and we are all passionate, you know, to the point that we don't always agree, you know, but we always work it out. We want this to be a phenomenal election for Monroe County. Nobody planned to have an election in a pandemic, but we want every single voter to have the ease of voting in whatever way works best for them. Now, we are guided by the Secretary of State, by the Indiana Election Division, and we do think creatively because we don't have a lot of money. But thank you for that. We appreciate that, and I assure you we are working together to provide you with a phenomenal election. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Perhaps at a future meeting, we can go over some of the safeguards that we have in place as a kind of an education for the public that might be concerned about vote safety and security. Are there any other comments from anyone in the audience? Raise your hand or speak up. All right. Being no, did I hear a voice? No. Okay. Being no more business before the board, I would ask the election board if you'll entertain a motion to recess until future business as the chair determines. Oops, sorry. Okay, we have one. I can't hear you. Oh, the dates. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. The Election Central has the dates for early voting. Go ahead. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm requesting that we have October 6th through the 9th from 8 o'clock to 6 p.m. October 12th through the 16th, 8 o'clock to 6 p.m. October 19th to October 23rd, 8 o'clock to 6 p.m. October 24th from 9 to 4, Saturday. October 26th through the 30th, 8 to 6. October 31st, 9 to 4, another Saturday. And then that Monday, November 2nd from 8 till noon.
All right, and election day is November 3rd. What are our critical dates that are coming up for voters?
Okay.
I have the election calendar in front of me.
Okay.
So remind everybody that the last day to register to vote for this coming election is October 5th, with the first day of early voting on the 6th. I would also just point out that you can, if you meet one of the qualifications for voting by mail, you can go ahead and get that all set up now. You can do it online through indianavoters.com, which is very simple. They've actually moved some things around so it's a little more transparent about where you have to go. Obviously, your ballot will not be sent out until it's ready, but there's no reason that you can't go ahead and get it done now. That really helps our people, because one of the biggest problems we had in the primary was everybody waiting until the last moment. And there's no need to do that.
I concur with you, Ms. Carolyn. There's absolutely no need to do that. I absolutely want to encourage every single voter, if it is at all possible for you to vote early, please do so.
And about 2,000 people have already requested early ballots, correct? I can't hear you. You're on mute.
It's close to that. You're probably a little high, but we're getting close to 2,000.
Okay, that's terrific. So there's a lot of interest in this
That's
election.
true. And we have a school board. That's the deadline for school board. We still can have applications for that until our 21st at noon.
Yep.
And another thought too, we're always looking for poll workers. People are calling in and we're getting a fair number of those. Of course, we need more. If anybody that's interested in working a poll, please give our office a call. We'll pass them on to the right recruiter.
We'll also need a lot of counters, will we not?
Yes.
For
Yes,
absentee
we will.
ballots.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Hal, I apologize. I had one more piece of business I wanted to bring to the board's attention.
Please do.
The election board budget is available to review. I know you're already going to recess, and so I would like to put on your radar that I'd like to schedule a work session over the next couple of weeks to review the election budget.
Okay. Please let me know so we can make all the necessary arrangements.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Is there any other business to be brought before the chair?
Mr. Turner, hello?
Yes, Mary Ann Williams.
Mary Ann Williams here. Thank you for this meeting, for all of your efforts. I just wanted to ask if the list of early voting dates that Karen Wheeler just read, is that published somewhere?
Karen, are you still there? Where will people be able to see the voting dates for early voting?
Oh, we'll put that on both the registration, voter registration email or website and the county website. It won't go out until tomorrow because my person who does that will not be in the office until tomorrow. Although I could send it to the county, just depending on. But tomorrow we should have it up.
Okay.
And you'll put it on MonroeCountyVoters.us also?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do we need to come in and sign that paperwork, Karen?
That would be wonderful.
Are you in the office today?
I am.
Okay.
At 4 o'clock.
Okay, we'll see you shortly then.
Actually, I'll be out of the office tomorrow. I have to go to Brown County for election stuff. But if you do come in tomorrow, I'll have it at the desk.
Okay, but we could come in today and sign it.
Sure can.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can get in today, but I can certainly get it in tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'll see you after the meeting.
Great.
Okay. Randy Paul, you have your hand up.
Yeah, could you spend a minute on the poll workers as far as, I think I remember last time maybe that you could do a partial shift. Is that still true?
So
we can. Oh.
You can't do a partial.
No, you go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
We prefer not because it's very difficult. It's not our first round. Because if you come in and you're a Democrat or a Republican and want to do the morning shift, then we have to find a Democrat or Republican to do the afternoon shift. And that's not always the easiest. So we fill the ones that are willing to do the full day first. And then a lot of times we'll take names for people who will do a half day. And then if we get a combination, like I want to do the half and I want to do the other half, and they're both the same party, then sure. So we're not turning people down, but it is a harder combination to connect.
So does a poll worker have to either be a Democrat or Republican? Can a third party person work the polls?
We go by they have to be registered And up to this point, they had to be registered in Monroe County, but this year the state has said you just need to be registered in Indiana. And in the state, no one is registered as either party. We just look at their vote history, and we need to know, yeah, in the primary, we do need to know, are they a Republican or are they a Democrat? Because that's how they're signing off on all their paperwork. But, and they're,
So anybody who identifies themselves as independent or third party, they can't.
no, that's state law.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Last chance? Going.
It looks like, Hal, it looks like Mr. Jackson got off the phone, and I wanted to thank him. I wanted to join you in thanking him for his hard work.
Yeah.
We are all learning, and we do want to make voting accessible to every single voter. There's never malicious intent or anything. We are trying to learn and make the best possible choices for Monroe County with the parameters we have to work in. So I'm sorry I didn't get that chance to say that to Mr. Jackson, but I wanted it to be recorded. Thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to thank him for the work he's been doing to get Stone Belt clients out to these more difficult sites to personally review from their wheelchairs or other devices the difficulties and help us to understand what the problems are that they're encountering.
Yes, one of those ladies works for me.
Yes, she does. Yeah, it was a pleasure to finally meet her. Yeah. Okay. Being no other business, I would ask for a motion to recess.
I will make a
move.
motion to recess.
Okay, second.
I'll second then.
Okay. All those in favor indicate by shouting your name. Hal, yes.
Nicole, yes.
That was good.
And Carolyn, yes.
Okay. Then this meeting's recessed pending further call from the chair. Thank you.
Thank you.